For presentation.
All right. Cool.
Give us a second to get set up here, guys. Yes, sir. No, not yet. It's not where it's coming from. We're not that advanced. Give me just a second here, guys. All right, so we can see it. I am honored to speak before this club today. I think a lot of people in this room could tell me a lot of things about service and about business, but I'm here to speak to you guys today about a subject that I know quite well by virtue of my age, and that is social media. If you can't hear me, let me know. I'm going to try and not use the microphone this entire time, but if you can't hear me, please let me know. So my presentation today is called Social Media and the Rotarian. And what I want to talk about at a really high level today are three big things. First, the power and ubiquity of our information. And that's what this entire thing is really about, is our information, the information that is out there that exists in this digital world about us. I want to talk about social media, and if you're not participating in this, why you need to be at this point. And lastly, I want to wrap it up with what this means to our club and how we're going to use social media to our benefit. So first I want to start out with the power and ubiquity of the information that we leave behind and is all around us. I'm wondering first, is there anyone in this room who can tell me with honesty that they have never used any of the services or products up here? Is there anyone who's never, you guys have never Googled something before? Okay, so we've all Googled something. Now, all of these are obviously tech companies, but there's something else that all of these services that I have up here have in common. I'm wondering if someone can tell me that. That's a good point. Yahoo just yesterday, amen to that. But what I'm looking for actually is the fact that all of these things are free. And this quote stuck with me, and it changed the way I look at my phone and my digital life, and I'm thinking that it might do the same to you. It's a quote by Eric Schmidt, who is the CEO, he's the chairman of the board of Alphabet, who owns Google. He said, if the service is free, you are the product. Let that sit in for a second. Think about all the free things you have on your phone right now. If the service is free or if the app is free, you are the product. Think about all the things that we used to pay for that we don't have to pay for anymore. Newspaper subscriptions. I just use Apple News, or you go to BuzzFeed, or all these different places that have all your news. City and tour guides. We got Yelp, right? Nobody uses any of those things anymore. Maps. You remember actually getting the map from AAA and then taking your road trip with that big map that you'd find the state and look around in? Yeah, right. We're not doing that anymore, right? We're not doing that anymore. 411. People used to call 411. Can you believe that we used to get charged for these kind of things when we would want to use them? Travel agents, they're no more, right? Okay, harsh words. You know where your competition lies, though. But even things like calendars and little black books, or even things that are digital that we used to pay for, like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, we don't pay for any of those things anymore because they got replaced by Google has their own suite, and Apple has their own suite of programs that we don't have to pay for. They're 99% as good as the ones we used to pay for. So there's a lot of things on the internet that we used to pay for that we don't. And some things to sort of ponder about that. Why don't I ever get a bill? Google Maps is fantastic. Why don't they ever send me a bill for that? Why can't I call a customer service number about Google Maps or about Facebook? There's no customer service line for you to call. How do I get all these free services and Google still has a $237 billion market cap, right? How do they give away all these free things to us and they're still worth all that much money? It's because of this. If the service is free, you're the one who's actually the product. And Google is not dealing with us. We're not Google's customer. Bigger guys are. Now, what are the sort of things that they're productizing about us? Well, things like our purchase history, things that we like or dislike, or the demographics, how much money we make, where we went to school. All this is data that all these companies try to suck up and learn about you. Your daily habits, activity level, things like life events that happen to you. If you just got married, actually Caitlin and I just got engaged, a couple days after that, she was already being served up all kinds of wedding stuff right after it happens. So they're keeping track of the things that happen to you and when they happen to serve you guys advertisements. Your physical location, say it again? Trust me, they're on it and they're doing well, I promise you that. Jim's all over the knot and wedding sites like that.
Did you find them online?
I'll tell you about more stuff I found online later. But things like your social circles.
Again one day. I don't understand what you're doing.
So the question is, how do they do this? How do they productize us, right? There's three main ways they do it. We leave behind us little digital footprints everywhere we go. Not just that, but there's another thing that they do, and it's a little bit more sinister. That's passive collection. We're not going to talk a lot about that today because it's. I want to keep this a little bit lighter. And the third is by voluntarily providing our information to them. That's the stuff that we do on Facebook and all these social media sites. But at a high level, these digital footprints that we leave behind, what are they? So you've probably suspected this before. Everything that you have ever searched for in Google is in one place, attached to your name right now, stored in perpetuity. Google has it, and you can see it. And if you'd like to see it about yourself, I can show you where to see everything literally that you've ever Googled. But it's not just that. You ever ask Siri something on your phone? I guess most of us probably have. They store that data for at least 2 years, and they can analyze every single thing you've ever said to Siri to make their service better or do whatever else they want with it, of course. Have you ever used Google Maps or Apple Maps before and seen the traffic reports? Those don't come from some satellite that looks down on you from the sky and sees the traffic. That comes from your phone telling them how fast you're going, and that all happens without you saying yes to anything. Just by virtue of you using the service, you get that. But my point here is there is this wealth of information that's being sucked up that all these people are getting. Even things like every website you've ever visited leaves behind on your computer a little tiny tracking beacon. Does anyone know what those beacons are called? Cookies, exactly. So every website, like I said, you've ever been to, that looks good, right? Every website you've been to stores tens to hundreds of cookies on your computer. Even our beloved Rotary.org stores cookies. You can see right here, this website uses cookies. By continuing, you agree to this. And if you just wanted to see everything that's been left behind in your computer by these companies, let's say you have Safari, go to Preferences, go to Privacy, and Manage Website Data. You'll pull up a huge list there of everyone that's left something behind on your computer. You ever use Dictionary.com? They were caught using over 240 cookies. Every single time you visit their website, they transplant that many on your computer. But that sounds kind of sinister, but we're going to talk about how to use this to our benefit, okay? Other things that they store, digital footprints we leave behind, are things like purchases we make, likes or dislikes, things that we do online, links that you open from emails. If someone sends you a link on Gmail and you open it, we know that you like that now, or Google knows that you like that. Basically, everything that you've ever done is tracked. And how much data do they actually suck up from us? Well, this is kind of interesting. Google, every single day sucks up 24 petabytes of information. And that probably means nothing to anyone in this room unless you're a nerd like me. But 24 petabytes is 24 billion gigabytes. And your phone might be 16 gigabytes or something like that, just to let you know how much that is. And if that still doesn't help you figure out how much information that is, 1 gigabyte is about 10 yards of books on a bookshelf. Right? That's just 1 gigabyte. And Google stores so much of this data every single day. If you stacked all those books up, we would make it halfway to the moon every single day, and that's what they're sucking up from us. So out there exists all of this information in the world about us. And we know their information is out there, and we know that companies are out there sucking this data up. Companies like Facebook, companies like Google, or Nielsen. You guys remember Nielsen? They don't care much about what you're watching on television anymore. What you're doing online is much more important to them. So we know that all this data, we're going to call these guys, for the sake of this conversation, data aggregators, okay? There are companies who are real data aggregators out there, like Nielsen is close to one of them, but for this conversation, we're just going to call all these guys data aggregators because they're the ones who actually suck up this data. And this is really the main point of this conversation today. They have historically only sold this data to large companies who have lots of money and who have lots of access to who can actually do something with these data. Companies like Procter & Gamble or Pfizer, they'll take all this stuff from the internet and sell it directly to them as raw material. But only as of recently have companies like Facebook made available all this data to the little guy. And the point is that all this stuff that these big companies used to use, now Rotary can use. And we're going to be the ones who use the power of this data to our benefit. Now, I'm going to focus in on Facebook today because they're the biggest. They got over 1.2 billion users, and it's what makes most sense for us as a club to focus on. And I'm not gonna brag, but I'm a bit of a Facebook veteran. I've been around since 2005, and when I was around with Facebook in '05, it was only for college students, and it was a place where you would go and share stupid pictures, things like this, or like that, or like that, or this, or this, or this. And this brings me to my point. Now I'm going to stop right here on this stupid picture because this starts to illustrate my point that if you're not on Facebook, you need to be on Facebook, and here's why. Here was a November in 2008 where I apparently was having a great night at the U of I, school I didn't go to, but I was visiting and found someone's stockings to put on my head. Outside of a pizza place, I met this gentleman named Maurice, who was a crazy guy, and I exchanged a piece of pizza for this stupid photo that I went and found. And what's important about this is, my guess is Maurice here did not have a Facebook and had absolutely no knowledge that this photo that he traded me a piece of pizza for was going to end up online. And now Maurice has an online persona that he doesn't know about and cannot manage, but it's there. That's just one example, but I'll ask the club, does anyone recognize the guy on the left? Absolutely, Joe Fabrini, that's my grandfather, and someone who I can say unequivocally has never had a Facebook. All right, but a simple search that I did yesterday returned a photo of my grandfather, Joe Fabrini. Obviously there with another Joe Fabrini, but nonetheless. You are on Facebook whether you know it or not. Now, if you haven't heard me yet, this is about controlling your image. And if you think for just 1 second that because you've never been on Facebook that this persona about you does not exist in the world, I will point you to the fact that every one of these photos taken of me was not posted by me. I had nothing to do with the posting of any of these photos. But now since I know they're there, I can go back and ask that person, hey, take that photo down of me. Or alter it in some way so you don't have to see my name in a search or see these photos when they come up. So let's talk about brass tacks here and how we actually use this to our benefit as a Rotary Club. Now, as I talked about, there's a multitude of social networks out there. We're going to talk about the big guy today, just Facebook. And specifically about Facebook, we're going to talk about 5 different things, all right? Can I actually just ask first, how many people in this room do not have a Facebook page? Okay, so we have a decent amount, all right? And if you haven't seen already why you probably should be there managing your persona because they're already... This should take it a step further because you need to do this to help your club out, period. So things we're going to talk about for those people who don't know a lot about this yet, if you've already been on Facebook like most of our club has, some of this will be overview, but we're going to go over an introduction and talk about the nomenclature so when I speak you know what I'm talking about. Some tools and insights that they actually give us, page likes and what they mean to us, how we manage the content that we put out there. And we're going to talk about event promotion, how we're going to use this to our benefit for the Classic and other events. So, first thing I'm going to talk about is the news feed, all right? And this is really what Facebook's product is to any of us who are actually consumers of this. This is what you see when you log in. We see a number of posts. This thing right here is a post. I'm just obviously going to go over these guys here. This is a post by ESPN Chicago. ESPN Chicago has a page. And they posted something on their page, and because they posted it on their page, it showed up on my news feed here. News feed being the thing that I log in and see every time and scroll through. Every time something like this is served up to me, we're going to call this an impression. So when ESPN Chicago goes and looks at all their data, because I saw this once, I'll count as one impression, or as reach for them. Now, anytime I see a post like this, and let's just imagine that this was a post by Rotary showing up on your feed right here, I can do a number of things with this post, and our goal is to have someone interact with what's going on there. So I have a number of ways to do that if I like this post. I can like it, I can comment on it, I can share it so all my friends see it. The goal is when you post something, you post content that people actually want to interact with, something that is so cool they want to share it with their friends, those kinds of things.